I'm VJ Hamilton and welcome to the Autoimmune RESET, the place for you to learn how to thrive with autoimmune disease and feel empowered to take steps to transform your health to feel better than ever. You can start making changes today to improve your health. So with every episode, my mission is to share with you simple ways to up-level your diet and lifestyle with key learnings from my own journey reversing autoimmune disease and inspirational stories from those who have reset their autoimmune symptoms and are now thriving in life. I suffered from autoimmune disease for over 25 years and now I live symptom-free, and I wish the same for you as well. So thank you for being here and sharing this time with me. Now let's get started. Hello and welcome back to this Friday 5 episode of the Autoimmune RESET Podcast. And today's Friday 5 is for anyone who is struggling with cold hands, painful fingers, stiffness, swelling, or Raynaud's. And the weather in England at the minute has not been great. It's been quite cold, but it's been so rainy. It was actually a very bright, sunshiny day today, but we've only had a handful of those in the last couple of months. And this can really affect your hands. Hands are often one of the first places immune and circulatory issues show up. And if you're not protecting them and it's feeling damp and it's feeling cold, then it can cause an issue. When you have an inflammatory issue or a circulatory issue, you can have issues with your hands too, because they are highly vascular. They're neurologically sensitive as well, and they can be deeply influenced by stress, whether it's from the weather or whether there is something going on in the body. And if you have Raynaud's or autoimmune arthritis or thyroid dysfunction, or you simply have issues with your hands and you have sores on your hands or you have cold hands, then this episode is for you, because I used to live with all these issues with my hands. I had ganglions, I had sores, I had swellings, I had cracks. There was so much going on. And I never received a formal diagnosis for arthritis or for any condition that potentially would affect my hands, but I was just living with it. And that's why I want to talk this through with you today, of things that you can think about doing to make sure that your hands stay as healthy as they possibly can be. Because even when I used to have just tiny little cracks in my hands, they would be so painful. And it was surprising how like a tiny little crack can break and then bleed and then just be something that you can't take your mind off, even though it looks really small. They can be extremely painful, and in some cases they can become infected. So we do need to be careful when it comes to our hands. So let's talk about these 5 ways to keep your hands calm, both internally and externally. So first is to stabilize your circulation from the inside out, because if you have Raynaud's in particular, it's fundamentally a vascular spasm issue, and the small blood cells in the fingers constrict excessively in response to cold or stress. That's what we have to start thinking about when it comes to autoimmune disease. Sometimes this circulation piece is absolutely key, and whether it's the way your vessels are constricting in relation to stress or cold, or whether it's just that the smaller vessels like the capillaries just aren't healthy, or your blood cells aren't able to get through them because they're enlarged, or other factors are going on, we need to always be thinking about this piece of it rather than just focusing on the immune system. So supporting circulation internally can make a meaningful difference. And I often focus on omega-3 fatty acids and making sure that they're balanced well with omega-6s, because a lot of us are eating a lot of omega-6 fats because they're in a lot of processed foods, they're from vegetable oils, and we're not getting as much omega-3s from, say, oily fish, which is a really good source of omega-3s. When it comes to your vascular health, adequate hydration is foundational. Are you drinking enough in the day? And magnesium can really help to reduce smooth muscle constriction in blood vessels. So magnesium can be extremely helpful in this context as well. And gentle nitric oxide support, which helps to dilate your blood vessels, can make a huge difference as well. And that can be through foods like beetroot, leafy greens, and pomegranate. And in the UK, there are shots that you can buy called fighter shots They're something that I will often just have in my fridge if I don't have time to make my own juices. And you can get beetroot shots and pomegranate shots. They do have ginger in them as well, but they're really good to just be doing on a daily basis. And I know there are some other beetroot shots you can buy for this reason, mainly for athletes, because it can help with athletic performance as well. So when your blood vessels are nourished and less inflamed, they simply are going to become less reactive too. Next is to regulate your nervous system, because particularly with Raynaud's and with any type of circulation, but particularly Raynaud's, many people are responding in the way where your fingers will turn white or you're not getting the circulation to your fingers. And that can be when you are stressed rather than just cold. And that's not coincidental, because stress activates the sympathetic nervous system, which causes peripheral vasoconstriction. And that's what we're seeing when somebody is having the symptoms of Raynaud's. So if your body is perceiving a threat, it's going to divert blood to your vital organs, not your fingers. So that's the evolutionary reason for that. Daily micro practices can genuinely help, such as slow breathing, extending your exhale, gentle vagal tone exercises, and even simple rituals that you do in the morning can make a huge difference. And I know I've spoken about it many times. We're going to be focused far more on vagal tone in the next few years, and it's something that I focus on far more in my practice now with my clients, and I focus on far more for myself. And it's like when your sleep gets better, it has that knock-on effect to so many other areas. So if I'm going to recommend one thing around this, it's just making sure that you have some form of vagal tone practice every day. And that might just start with breathing. I've been using the NeuroSim. I'm about to start using the Sensate as well. And the NeuroSim is a device which stimulates the vagus nerve and strengthens it. And then we've got the Sensate, which is working in a slightly different way with sound waves. And that can really help to increase vagal tone as well. The more that you can improve this, the more your health will improve as well. And obviously there's more to it than that. But if you would like to find out more about either of those products, you will find a link to that in the show notes. Because when it comes to supporting your nervous system, the goal is not about perfection. It's just making sure that you are thinking about it and that you do have a daily practice, even if that's 10 minutes in the morning or 10 minutes at lunchtime or 10 minutes on an evening. Start thinking about ways that you can focus more on that in your life and meet yourself at your baseline as well. What's going to work for you? Next is to support connective tissue and your joints. And if your hands feel really stiff or achy or inflamed, particularly if you have autoimmune arthritis, then we need to look deeper than circulation alone, because internally, I might consider things like collagen or glycine to support connective tissue. When it comes to rheumatoid arthritis and that autoimmune response that's causing arthritis, we want to be thinking about different types of collagen, like type 2 denatured collagen, because that's going to help to bring your immune system back into harmony so it doesn't continue to attack your joint. But other types of collagen as well can help, because it's providing the building blocks for the joints and the cartilage in the joint in order to rebuild and be strong. But when it comes to your hands, omega-3s again can be extremely helpful if we're trying to halt or stop that inflammatory response in the body. Then curcumin or boswellia have been well researched around helping to block that inflammatory pathway. And as always, adequate protein intake is essential. Externally, gentle hand mobility work is incredibly helpful. You can put warm oil and massage your hands, which can help with any discomfort. And if you use contrast therapy, keep it warm based. You don't want to be doing anything with extreme cold, especially if you have Raynaud's. So movement improves synovial fluid as well, and that's important if your hands are hurting and it is more related to your joint, and it can reduce stagnation in the joints of the hands as well. And when we're thinking about our hand health, just think about warmth, just think about movement, just think about making sure that the skin is fully nourished, and hopefully that will help as well. Next is to keep your hands physically warm. Again, this might sound obvious, but it can be strategic, especially if you have Raynaud's, because prevention is far more effective than when you go into a flare. And as I said, when I would get cracks and sores on my hands and they would open up, they'd be so sore and it would take a long time to be able to recover from that. There are different thermal gloves that you can buy for Raynaud's and for hands, and keeping your hands warm is absolutely key, but also keeping warm yourself. And that helps to make sure that your whole body stays warm. So making sure your core is warm, avoiding any sudden shifts in temperature. The thing that I found out recently when I was speaking to my husband is that our car actually has a heated steering wheel, which I didn't realize. And I've been driving it for a year and driving it in the cold and not really thinking much about it. But now I've realized that you can put the heater on and use it. It feels different. And I realized my body was being so tense and cold and stressed when I was in the car, when I was getting up early and going out to Pilates. I don't always use it, but I do put it on when it's really cold. And it just makes such a big difference to my hands, and they just feel really good. As part of that, I almost feel like when I'm driving over to Pilates, I'm actually giving my hands a bit of love at the same time. Circulation is systemic. It's not just coming from your hands, it's coming from your body centrally. So remember that and think about whole body warmth, not just your gloves. And that's where Epsom salt baths and saunas can really help as well. And when I'm working with clients with autoimmune conditions, I'm recommending heat therapy far more than any cold therapy, especially at those early stages of the condition and when somebody is living with a lot of chronic symptoms. And lastly, use sensory tools because they can help with microcirculation. External stimulation can be extremely helpful. I recently discovered Shakti, who does this amazing acupressure mat that I use as well, but they do these rings and you can just use them while you're watching TV. And they help to stimulate nerve endings and encourage microcirculation in the fingers. And they work by increasing local blood flow and stimulating acupressure points around the finger. And they provide that sensory feedback to the nervous system. And they're really simple tools, but I know when I've just recently started using them, they just feel so good. And I haven't seen those long-lasting effects yet, but my hands are in such a better position now, and it's more about maintenance for me anyway. Shakti also does a Wonder Ball, and that can be helpful for getting nerve stimulation in the hands. I really like their Wonder Ball, but you can do things with your hands like using massage balls. You can even do some dry brushing. That always feels really nice for me. Using castor oil and gentle compression gloves can make a big difference. So just think about small, consistent stimulation to improve that vascular tone, and just things that you can easily weave into your life. You can use those rings when you're watching the TV, which is what I love to do. It's nice to kind of pair sat down, relaxing, watching something with something therapeutic. Your hands are a barometer, as with other signs that we get in our body. And if they are white or blue in the cold, chronically cold, swollen, stiff or painful, then that is information for you. It may reflect stress physiology. It might reflect something going on with your thyroid, autoimmune activity, nutrient insufficiency, something going on with circulation. And support needs to be both internal and external. So think warmth, minerals, omega-3s, nervous system regulation, connective tissue support, and that gentle stimulation on a regular basis. So nothing aggressive, nothing too reactive, but being consistent is absolutely key. And if your Raynaud's is severe or worsening, it's always worth investigating autoimmune markers, thyroid function or inflammatory markers as well, just to rule out anything else. So speak to your doctor about that in the first instance, because your hands should not feel uncomfortable on a daily basis. And if they are, there are things that you can do for that as well. If you have any questions about this, feel free to send me a message on my Instagram account at the Autoimmunity Nutritionist. I'll put the links to some of the products that I've mentioned today as well. And if you are looking to join a community of people who are living with autoimmune disease, then feel free to pop over and join us at the Autoimmune Forum. There are some guides on there. There's lots of recipes. People as part of the community are sharing their experience living with these conditions, and I'd love to have you over there. If not, have a fantastic weekend and I'll speak to you soon. Thank you very much for joining me today on the Autoimmune Reset. I really hope you enjoyed the discussion, and be sure to subscribe to the podcast so that you never miss an episode. And if you liked it, I would hugely appreciate a review on iTunes, as it helps me understand what you like about the podcast and to help share the information with more people. I'm excited to speak to you next time, and remember, you have the power to take the reins on your health. So keep the faith and celebrate the small wins. Until next time.